Hey, it's Paul Monahan, and welcome to the Most Important Game podcast. My mission is to help you lead, play, and perform at your best. In today's episode, we visit with Nathan Ray. Nathan is a 10th degree black belt in karate. He's been around this space and in this space ever since he was about 6 years old. That's a few decades, he'll tell you. But Nathan is really into personal and professional development, and he's a lot to say about the mental game of performance. In this episode, we talk about self-image. We talk about how you build a winner's environment. He talks about surrendering to the process, and tons of really terrific content and ideas that can help you play better, struggle less, and enjoy the game more, whatever game you're playing. So here we go. And here we are with Nathan Ray. Nathan, great to see you, buddy. How are you, man?
Man, hey, happy, radiant, free, shining bright like three diamonds, my friend. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man, you brought it. I love it. I wondered if you would bring that.
Yes, I got to bring that,
free.
man. Our time together, man. I'm so excited to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And the exciting thing is we got to spend a little bit of time together just a couple of months ago. That was great.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Right?
What you guys put together out there with the AAI school, the mental game. I mean, that was such gold because we got to do the physical things, but without the mental, it ain't happening. So that was gold. I really appreciate you on what you did.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And for the listener, so Nathan and I met, 6-7 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Orlando.
In Orlando, inside of this Graves Golf Academy journey that we're both on. And it's been really fun. And so Nathan,
it's been
Nathan
amazing.
Attended. Yeah. And so Nathan attended the 2-day alert attitude of indifference school that we do in Oklahoma City at the Graves Golf Academy Performance Center, which is awesome, right? Is that a great facility or what?
What? I mean, top notch. I mean, it's just beautiful. Yep. But the beauty of it isn't just aesthetically. It is aesthetically beautiful, but because there's so much purpose built into the facility. There's a reason for everything. That's the exciting part for me, anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like, I know we were out there in mid or late March. I forget exactly the time frame, and it was we had a couple of little kind of cool days.
Yeah,
cool and breezy.
It was breezy. When Todd speaks on some of the old videos that I've seen, he talks about the Oklahoma winds, and I'm thinking, what? It's just a little wind. Oh no, this is the real wind.
Exactly. There's no question.
It was wild. It was really wild.
And the grass out there was, I would call it spring grass. It was sort of emerging, and but I'll tell you, I was there last week, and that course is in amazing condition.
I bet you it's immaculate, huh? Wow.
Well, it's very much moving into its kind of summer form, and so
yeah.
Fairways.
Well, shoot, they were rolling when I was there, so I can only imagine what they're doing now.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So that was cool, and it's funny that and I'm really excited to dive into all of this performance stuff that we want to dive into today. And this is our second conversation on the podcast. Yeah, so I want to thank you for coming back and having a conversation. Pleasure. I know we enjoy
I was chomping at the bit, man. I'm ready. That's great.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I always enjoy my conversations with you. You're so thoughtful, and you bring so much positive energy to what you do, to the people that you're around. I think that's such a value. I want to stay on this golf thing for a second, because I think that it's interesting. So the 2-day school that you came to, we call it Alert Attitude of Indifference, and it's something that this golfer Mo Norman used to say. He used to say, "I play with an alert attitude of indifference."
Yeah,
and I think that's a little bit of a disruptive way of speaking. There's a lot of ways that Mo Norman used to speak that was like, people would be like, "Wait a minute, what?" And then it's like totally makes sense,
Deep.
So this idea,
Mo said a lot of things that were incredibly deep, but and the interesting thing is, I know on his some of the film, he says they show him driving around until 1, 2 in the morning, just listening to different speakers talk about the mind. And I
No
said,
doubt.
man, he was probably consuming a ton of really positive, good things, and within his own mind and how his brilliance, just how he processed things, period. I mean, it's just amazing testament to what can happen as we really focus in and really having that space repetition of positivity. I think that's one of the big keys, is just being in it and letting that be a part of your life. I mean, Mo wasn't just doing this thing, it was his life. That was how he was living. So it's
No
really,
question.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's so good. Okay, so when, like, when did you get the positivity bug? When did that emerge? How did that emerge for you? I'm not around too many people very often that are so unbelievably positive and can, even in struggle, where others are in struggle, you can always be that sort of calm in the middle of the storm and so forth. Like, where does that come from for you?
man, that's well, I mean, I think the formation early on for me, I was very blessed because getting involved with martial arts as a child at 6, that began my study of martial arts. This year is going to make 49 years, man, that I've been studying karate and martial arts, period. And for my dojo here, or my karate school, we call it a dojo. From the dojo here, I started my dojo when I was freshman in high school, and so this year is going to make 39 years. So it's been a good run. But growing up in the karate school, and my teacher, these were people. They were my teacher's teacher was. They were just incredible folks. They actually did a course, and they had it on records, and they sold these door to door in the 50s, like the late 50s. I mean, like we tune in and we can go online and we can sign up for a course, and that's a common thing now. But they were doing it in the late 50s because they wanted to be professional martial artists. So, they were doing things like that. They were studying Earl Nightingale, they were studying Napoleon Hill, they were studying these people, and they had my teacher's teacher had a very spiritual base, a background. I didn't know any of that. All I knew is I wanted to be, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, and
Yeah,
everyone else
yeah,
that was great combined, right? So, but I'm in this environment, and that, I think, looking back, that's one of the great lessons that I've learned, is about creating an environment. And I work hard today to create a great environment for our folks here at our dojo, World Karate Do. Um, and so I was blessed to be in an environment with winners. They weren't just winning trophies for a karate tournament. I mean, they were doing that too, but they were winners in life. They were champions in life. And so they had honor, they had integrity, they lived by principles. And so I was grown up in that and groomed in that. So that was the base. And as I, you know how it is, man. You get a little, you get a little, you get a few grades. You get a little what they call wisdom, and you're looking back. Really, it's
yeah.
you. And I'm so grateful. So the short answer to your question is, what I'm steeped in now, at the root of it, is gratitude, the law of gratitude, I would say. Yeah. And really diving deep into that aspect of it, because that's what allows you to have, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what allows you to have that belief and that faith in things that you can't see necessarily, but that the good is coming. It's just like when in the golf school, right? Hey, don't pay attention to the results right now. Don't pay attention to the results. Just keep working the technique. Keep doing what we're doing, and do it. Follow the model. But man, that's hard. That's hard. You're looking at that ball go right, left, they ain't flying, and people are doing these really wild looking swings and things, and the ball is going for them, and you're looking like, but at some point, I need to pay attention to results. But when you surrender, when you're really in the gratitude of things, and like you said, I
Mm.
mean, when you surrender to the fact that the process is where the good stuff is. It's that process where you learn yourself, where you tap into, you start to see the real you. I tell my students, because I see them, but I don't see their full potential. Obviously, it's like looking at an iceberg. You see the tip, but you don't see that massive ice under the surface of the water. And so, yeah, man, it's really where I am, and the positivity you speak of. Thank you. It's having that gratitude and surrender to the process, just like we do at the golf school. Because if you stay with the process, you keep with the model, the results will come. So, yeah, just trusting that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And of course, I was paging through a one of my favorite books here, by the
Oh,
way.
yay.
Yeah, I love it. Supreme Martial Arts: The Self
Yeah.
Improvement Master Text. Nathan Ray. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
But
Thank
I
you.
do love the yeah. There's a image here of the young karate master. Where is he?
Yeah.
Gotta be in
Wow.
here. Here we
Back in the
go.
day,
Page 9. There
gosh,
we
so
go. This
long
is gonna be.
ago. So
There
long
we go.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing research. That I think that picture I was doing research in Thailand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Exactly. Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And then there's the image of you as little guy. There we
Oh
go.
yeah, yeah. I can't see it, but yeah.
I
It's a
know.
little
I
bit.
know.
But that's
It's
it.
small.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But no, but yeah, it's been such a man, I'm blessed beyond blessings, and it just keeps getting better and better. Why? Because you get what you think about. Whatever you focus on, you
You,
get.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, there. So I was listening to a conversation the other day. Scott Fawcett, the decades golf guy, right? He's the
Oh,
guy
okay.
who basically, yeah, he's the guy who basically codified a lot of the numbers that have poured out over the last
Mm.
10 to 15 years from the PGA Tour stats,
Ah,
right?
okay.
And he's the guy
Yeah.
who basically is like, hey, if you look just at the statistics, this is how you should play golf. Not like that. You should play it like this. And so, for
Interesting.
example, yeah, very interesting, right? And for example, he talks about on the putting green, pace is king. Now we want
Yeah.
to focus on getting the ball aimed correctly, but he demonstrates through math. Basically, he's a financial guy and a mathematician and a brilliant
Wow.
guy and a great player, by the way. Todd Graves has played with Scott Fawcett and knows Scott, but so he's the guy who has really learned is really shifting the game and how we think about the game, which is really kind of fun. But he was talking about this idea that our expectations on the course, like how we see the game and what we expect to achieve on the course is a lot different than what the stats say is actually possible.
Mm.
And we talked a little bit before on our last podcast conversation about once you understand that the make percentage from
Oh, yeah.
eight feet on the PGA Tour is roughly 50-50.
Wow.
Right,
Wow.
50% of the putts are made, 50% are missed. I was playing last night with a guy who's basically couldn't believe, and he was so upset, Nathan, that he missed like a 17-foot putt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he spent like
Yeah.
5 minutes talking about what a complete jerk he was for, how could he possibly? And,
Now you're getting into some sauce, Paul.
you know,
I mean, I'm working on some things. I'm working on some things, but
you
one
are.
article that I was working on was just that, man, because words are powerful, and sometimes it's easy just to spit things out there, especially on the golf course. We hear it all the time. Anyone's been on the golf course. I mean, we know but you hear people bashing themselves and really laying into themselves. And we went into this, you all went into this in the AAI school, like, hey man, what if that was your caddy? Would they still be employed if they were talking to you like that? Nope. We fire them. We get rid of them. So I think that level
100%.
having that level of, and this is not to beat anyone up. We've all been there, but having a raising your one of the things, I just speak for myself, man. Raising my awareness has been wonderful because when you start being aware of your words, you can wield your words like a sword. It becomes a
Yeah.
great weapon in your arsenal when you control your words and you begin to really with an intent and purpose. You choose to speak in a way that is going to elevate you instead of tear you down. It's gonna keep you so steady, and it improves your game. There's so many ways you can just improve your game and it not even do anything with the swing. You all proved that with AAI school. We really didn't. It really wasn't about the swing. It was so much more about the mind. And my game improved from the school. By the way, thank you a lot. But just in general, I mean, just here in the martial arts school, I teach the same thing. I tell my students, hey, you get what you say. The problem I read from a wise man, it said, he said, my people get what they say. The problem with my people is they keep saying what they got. So it's like a hamster wheel.
Interesting.
It's like
Right.
a
Right.
you know, why am I still getting the same results? Oh,
Right.
because you keep
Right.
talking to yourself the same way. You don't, instead of, and this goes back to the results thing, instead of worrying about where you are, what you see, like right here in your face, keeping your mind on the prize out there. Where are you going? What is it that you're
Yeah.
wanting to achieve? So this kind of ties all that together. But man, words are so vital. Wow.
It's so true. And this idea that we words are a reflection of our thinking.
Yes. Yep.
And one of the things we try and present at the mental game school in Oklahoma City is this idea that you can, if you can identify your thought patterns, you can identify the thought patterns that are allowing you and helping you to achieve what you want. You can also identify the patterns that are getting in your way.
Mm-hmm.
And once you identify the patterns that are getting in your way, Katie bar the door, because now you're onto something. You can do something different. You can shift,
Well, I
right? You
do the
can
yippee
shift your
skippy.
thinking.
I do the yippee skippy, man. And people are looking at me like, what is going on? You know?
Yep,
But, because the
exactly.
shot might not physically be so impressive or whatnot, but I'm gonna celebrate myself. I'm gonna
Yep,
and they're wondering like, what is going on? What happened? I was like, hey man, I flowed through that. It was awesome. And they're like, okay,
yep.
something's wrong with this guy, but but
No,
they're
that's
not
so
getting it
good.
because at the end of the day, like we said, thinking long term down the road, all the pieces will come together. All we have to do is stay consistently in that
Yep,
positivity. Yeah.
agreed. And there's a ton of research on the negativity bias that is just part of the human condition, right?
Right.
Again,
Right.
related to
Yeah.
this idea
Well,
that
I
the
mean,
brain
what?
is here to keep us
Hmm.
alive, right? So it's going to
Yeah.
recognize the bad stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I
So we have
mean,
to overcome that.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to your point with the gentleman, um, with the 17-footer or whatnot, just getting rid of that tension and putting that kind of pressure on yourself. What I found was when I learned this, and this was the value that Tim Graves brought, being a person with numbers, a numbers man, and bringing that and really putting that out in front of us at the academy. The stats that are in the little handbook, the little booklet that you all give out, and I'm reading
Yep.
those stats, and like you said, hey, at this range, PGA professionals only making 50%, et cetera, et cetera. So I just said, okay, I'm 12 feet from the hole. I just need to get it close. My game is I'm gonna get it close so I can tap it in. That's my game. I'm not worried about making it. And the funny and it's like a paradox. Funny thing is, you start even making more of those because you're just relaxed. And like
Yep.
you said, you're not tense. You're not holding that tension. So the funny thing is when we let go and when we release, good things happen. Not saying that you're going to make those putts, but at least you get it close enough. You just get a little tap in, your numbers start to go up. You start to be consistent. So
And
it's
why is
interesting.
that? I agree with you. Why? What's behind all that? How is it that you can make more putts?
Yeah. Well, I again, I think it goes back to releasing tension. Is
You're playing more
and
freely. Yeah.
in the physical, you're releasing tension. And I mean, and this brings, I mean, there's so many things at play. I mean, when you're talking to yourself right, you're visualizing right, you're giving your body a roadmap to follow. You're sending light signals to your brain and firing cells. It will absolutely start to engage the cells of your brain in a literal sense. So all of it plays together. Um, I was listening and studying about the mind, but no one's ever seen the mind. And the and for you to kind of operate properly, we operate with pictures. So if I say, "Hey, think about your refrigerator," everyone gets a picture of what's on their refrigerator, whether it's magnets or whatever. If
Mm-hmm.
I say, "Think about your stove or your front door," immediately they can get the image. But
Yep.
when you say the mind, for most people, there is no image. So then, so then it's like, okay, what, right? So we have what we call the stick man figure that we use. It's like a big circle. You've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it, right? And at the top, that top circle represents the head, and halfway up, the upper part is your conscious mind, and halfway under that is your subconscious mind. But the how we speak to ourselves, those thoughts, the constant space repetition of whatever we say. I think Andrew
Mm-hmm.
Carnegie said it like this. He was like, whether something is feared or revered, if you are constantly in the thought of it, you will get that. You will produce that. You will manifest that will manifest in your life. And the key
Right.
part for me was when he said, it doesn't matter if it's feared or revered, no matter if it's positive or negative, you stay in that, it is coming to you. Why? Because that repetition gets it down in your subconscious mind, that gets into your body, which is the tool of action, right? And you're operating on that vibratory level or that frequency. We say frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And on that frequency, you start to attract, like I say, you attract what you are. Not, so you start to pull those elements in, whether they're, and the key point, whether it's positive or negative. And then that's what we call a result. And so we can consciously make choices. That's the powerful part about it. Doesn't matter your
Yeah.
age, doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter the troubles you've had before, doesn't matter everything's been perfect before, whatever it is, it really comes down to simply being a choice, which I think blows a lot of people's mind because it's like can't be that easy. But in reality,
Right.
it is, that easy.
I
So
know. Yeah, that's so good. Back to this faucet conversation I was listening to, and he's talking. That part of the conversation was how Tiger Woods was so good
mm,
under pressure and how resilient he was. Like if he made a bad shot, like he could get right back. And the conversation started to it swerved a little bit into this idea of, look, Tiger Woods has been in a meditation practice, an active meditation
mm,
practice since
mm,
he was a kid. And so one of the comments that Fawcett made was, look, we're never going to catch up to him in the meditation space, which I I wonder if that's true or not, because I think the sooner we end, like, the old saying, what's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, second best time now,
That's great.
right?
I like that. I had never heard that one. That's a good one. I love that.
Right?
I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly. So, look, I think we can make tremendous strides and leverage the benefits of
Hmm.
understanding how to be aware of our thinking a little bit more, being more mindful of what's passing through, what we're anchoring to. And it can help us a lot to be in what used to be difficult moments for us. We can be in those moments and be freer. I mean, that's what
Mm,
you're talking about,
that's powerful. Yeah. Man, you
before.
just
You're talking about
said
being
so
free.
much goodness. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. Now, you said a lot of goodness, man. This past February was my 1 year anniversary of being in a formal meditation practice. All up until then, growing up, I was an unconscious competent. You know, I was doing the right things accidentally. I was meditating in my own way, and I just happened to be doing the right things to get the results. But now, looking back and being more consciously aware, I can see those were the right things to do. But so I started a conscious a meditation program, and it has been fabulous because all before then I wasn't, it's just like, okay. And it was more informal. You're in
Mhm.
martial arts, you have teachers that maybe have you sit, close your eyes, but they're not really going deep into any of the details. But this particular meditation has been great. And so you mentioned that as a grounding tool in our toolbox of life. It is a great tool. And I know some people get fearful of it, and there's all different types and different things. I think whatever form you find that's good for you, that you feel comfortable with, whatever that is it's definitely a great thing to do, especially for a golfer. I think just bringing that level of awareness, being able to be centered, and you mentioned, as you said, liberating yourself, getting free, letting go of all the and I know Todd, I think was it Todd? I think Todd, he was like, man, I play with some people and they're telling themselves all these stories. And once he said that, I started paying attention to it. And when I
Mhm.
caught myself with that chatter, I said, no, no, no stories, Nate. No stories. I just tell myself, we're not telling ourselves, whatever happened just happened. It's all good. Stick to the model. And so it really helped me stay centered and grounded. But that's what meditation does. It allows you to come back to center and let it go and release it, and not tell yourself all these stories, because that's where the anxiety comes from. That's where the fear comes from. That's where the anger comes from. It's usually stories you have in your mind. I saw Key and Peele, the comedian duo, the comic duo,
Yeah,
and they're
sure.
two friends, and they're texting each other. But you're seeing how each of them is reacting to the text.
Yeah,
And
of
the
course. Yeah.
the one guy's telling himself these stories like, this guy's disrespecting me. He's supposed to be my friend, and he's just getting angrier and angrier and going off. And the other guy's just chilling. He's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. But he's so nonchalant and free. But the other one is so angry. So at the end of the sketch, the one friend has a baseball bat. He's just gonna go attack this guy. And he walks in, and his friend's like, oh, how did you know I needed a baseball bat for my costume? You're so kind. And he's just like, but that is such a classic, thing. You see, like these stories we tell, the way we're in our heads about things, it produces a lot. It, I mean, it changes our body chemistry, and that
Yeah.
does things to us. So getting control of our words, man, and those stories is definitely key. Yeah.
You know, when I was with a group last week in Oklahoma City, and I said to the group, I said, "There's two problems in the game of golf. There's two big challenges. One is the ego, and the second
Oh,
is our stories about how we think the game is supposed to unfold for us.
yeah, yeah, man.
Those are the two
What
big, right?
what'd you do, man? You drank some good juice or something this morning, Paul. You're dropping some jewels there, man. Wow, the ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And in martial arts, the true I say it this way, and some people might take exception, but the true practice of martial arts is in throwing away your ego and keeping your ego. Say what? Throw it away and keep
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
You know,
Talk about that. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
really good. I want to hear
ego
your
is
your.
healthy. It's we should have a healthy ego.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, for sure.
mm-hmm.
But when anything becomes imbalanced, it's just gonna send us into a tailspin. So having a healthy ego, I think, is very positive. We used to say throw away the ego, but no, I think I've seen we need ego, but in a balanced way. I think
Okay.
it's good. I think it keeps us with the drive to do great things. But at the same time, if it gets off kilter, it is good to throw that side of it away. the unnecessary part, that negative part, that part that makes us not be organically who we are as a being.
So if somebody has a healthy ego, what would be a common or a potential inner dialogue for them when they're inside of a performance domain trying to do something really hard? What
Oh
would
yeah.
be something if for that person who has a positive and productive ego?
I think it's just going back to your game plan. I think most athletes have a game plan going in. It's just like I played yesterday in a little tournament. It was really great. Um, and I noticed one of the gentlemen, and I'm a big proponent of not getting involved with anybody else's game. But we were doing a 4-man scramble, which is a little
Yeah.
different because we can, as teammates, we can communicate. Whereas normally you're not doing that. So he had been smashing the ball. This man's in his 70s, and he is long, 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 and he hits it fairly straight. And so, but as fatigue sets in and things happen, things change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going down the road, and he hits it and just goes right, hard, right into the woods. And I'm looking at him, and then we get to the next hole, and something similar happens, and we say, I said, "Are you aware that you changed your uh, routine?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You you switched up your routine. That might be throwing you off. You might want to stick into your routine. I don't know." I said, "Unless you just that's part of your routine is to change your routine halfway through what you're doing." And
Nice.
and
Nice.
he said no, and he got back into his routine. He started hitting it straight again. Now I'm not saying that he did it because of me, but I was just kind of like his little conscious on the shoulder going, keep doing what we're doing that was working. No need to change your rhythm or anything. Just go back to it. So I think that's part of the ego is having a game plan. We call it a part of that game plan is the routine and keeping the emotions in check so you stay grounded in what you have set that you're going to do. It keeps you in rhythm. It keeps you in timing. And when I said that to him, I thought about you guys because that's what we did at the AAI school, and that's what you
Right.
all were telling us. So I won't call myself feeling like a hypocrite, but I'll just say I was feeling aware.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah,
Awareness
but
is huge. Yeah,
mhm,
I think that's huge. And all
yeah,
right, I'll kind of run this past you, see what you think.
sure.
My for the ego piece, what I
Oh
like
yeah,
to say is that there's sort of two sides to the ego coin, right? The one is the pure biology of survival, right? It's the part of our brain that's designed to keep us alive. How does it do that? Well, it keeps us from the threats. It protects us from the threats.
right.
Long time ago, we had to run from things that would eat us. We don't have to do that anymore, right? So it's sort of replaced with, and this is the other side of the coin. Today, I think the ego emerges when we feel the shame and embarrassment of yanking it into the woods on the first tee with 19 people watching us.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it can
So
be
there's,
you can spiral, man. Because if you start
yeah,
going down that path, then it starts to affect everything. So I think you're onto something with that for sure.
yeah.
It's
So,
you
right, right. And I
look
think
at
so,
Tiger. I mean, I think I heard one interview. It says, you hit a bad shot there, and the guy was trying to be nice, and Tiger says, "Yeah, I shanked it." The guy didn't say that to Tiger. You shanked one on
yeah,
8, but he was, he says, "Yeah, you kind of hit that one." Tiger just went right to it. He says, "Yeah, I shanked it." He says,
yeah,
"What player hasn't?" He said, "It happens."
yeah.
So
And that's a
yeah,
statement that says that person's comfortable enough in themselves that they can be free and expose their weaknesses.
yeah. Because
And
after he shanked
that's
it, he's still good because back to your point earlier, he's practiced that meditation. He can throw that away.
yeah.
He can center and ground himself. And that's not to say, I mean, I think a lot of people meditate and they just don't call it meditation too. They might not be aware that they're
Hmm.
doing that. practice under that name. So it's not
Sure.
just, hey, you got to go and sign up for meditation class. No, I think people are, a lot of times they're doing great things and they're not even aware they're doing them. But Tiger, he just, in that example, he was able to stay centered and grounded. And like you said, his ego was in check to the point where it's like, I'm a human being. This is part of being a human being. And it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay if I shank one. It's all right. I don't have to be embarrassed because it's just part of the experience that I get to have. So I think when we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
grow to that level, yeah, because when you get tight, oh, such and such is watching me, and now there's tension, and your mind isn't where it needs to be. It's naturally then a lot of things are going to come into play. But yeah, I go
No
it
doubt.
goes yeah it goes back to surrender, and Matthew Maxwell Maltz, I think, was the doctor. He did the great work on psychocybernetics. Yeah,
Oh,
psychocybernetics.
yeah. That's a blast from the past.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, psychocybernetics. That great work about self-image. Now, a business associate of mine yesterday, she was just making a comment about a study she read, and they wanted to study self-image. So they put prosthetic scars on this group, this cohort of people that they were using for this experiment. And they were going to send them in the public to see the reactions that people got, right, from the
Yeah.
scar. This is what they told them. But as they were working and they said, oh, we're going to adjust this a little bit, they actually did not put the scar on the person.
They'd sort of like put it on, took it off,
Right.
or something
They
worse
so
than that. Yeah. Yeah.
they had them look at it with the prosthetic scar on. They had them look in the mirror at it. But then, without them knowing it, they said, "Well, we need to adjust it," but they actually removed it. So the person is thinking they got the scar.
Sneaky researchers,
Sneaky
those.
researchers. So they think that they have the scar, and they're going out and talking to people and having regular conversations. So then, when they come back to report, they're reporting, "Yeah, they mistreated me. Yeah, they were looking at me weird. Yeah, they were," but it was all here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the study was really about how powerful our self-image is and how we see our inner dialogues about ourselves, and how the picture that we paint of someone and how they see us is a lot of the times right here in our own minds based on our self-image. And so when you go back to guys like Dr. Maltz doing that great work, psycho-cybernetics, in terms of building a self-image, creating an inner dialogue about who we are and what we're comfortable with, I think that ties in a lot with that whole ego piece, and being balanced in our ego. So I think that's kind of like a self mastery ecosystem is kind of what I
Yeah.
call
No
it. Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
No question. I'm thinking about the shot that we did at number 3 on the Infinity course at Graves Golf
Mm,
Academy,
right.
where it's over the ravine, that par
Yes,
3,
yes.
right? Right.
Yes,
And
yes.
do you remember how long that shot is? Remember the
Was it
yardage on
like,
that shot?
I think it was like 150 or something? It's not very long.
130. Yeah,
130,
130.
right? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And
It's
you
not
put
very long,
people in that.
but visually, when you're in your head, that ravine is there, like you said, there's a lot of
Mhm.
emotions that come up.
100%. It's like almost everybody who is attempting that shot out of the 20 people that are attempting it, they just hit plenty of shots longer than
Way longer
130
than
on the
130.
range.
Yeah.
And now we put them in that environment. And I had a conversation the other day with Todd Graves, and we were talking about this idea that people struggle with that. It's partly about how they see themselves and whether or not they can imagine themselves doing this thing that they think is really hard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's powerful,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yes. Well, I mean, we see it in martial arts, and this is something. Like I said, I grew up as a as a child, you pretty much breaking bricks, right? With your hand, with your head. I mean,
Sure.
all of these different things that for the average person, they say this is impossible. No one can do this. So it becomes a really amazing, and it is. But what makes it amazing is because it's now granted, don't go punching bricks and things if you haven't been trained on how to
I'll put a
hold,
disclaimer on there,
yeah,
Nathan.
how to
Yeah.
hold your.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have the proper form of technique, of course. However, my point is there are a lot of people that have that form and technique that because this isn't right, that brick ain't going nowhere. I had a young man. I took him with me on a demonstration, and and he's a black belt, and I was leading the demo, right? So I brought bricks. So and he's watching me teach the class and do everything, and he's just been he's being a helper. And so when it came time to break the brick, I said, "Okay, you break it." And he was like, "Oh, okay." That wasn't something we had planned, but he'd done it a ton of times. So I said, "No, you go ahead, you do it." But his head wasn't in it. So he set up to the brick with his fist to break this brick, and I said, because I just felt that he wasn't in that space. I
Did
said,
you feel a little fear or something, or a
just
little
yeah,
doubt maybe?
a little being taken back that I called on him in that moment. So I think he was a little surprised, and he just wasn't. I just felt he wasn't in that space, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
speak that on him. I just left, and then I said, well, why don't you do a palm strike? Because in general, a palm strike would be a little easier than a punch to a brick, right? So I
Hmm.
said, well, why don't you just do a palm? He says, well, no, I'm going to do the fist. Said, oh, okay. So he leans into it. That brick don't move, and this is something he's done many a time before.
Sure.
And so, of course, there's some embarrassment and things like that come up. All these things come up.
Hmm.
It was awesome. I'm going to tell you this. It was awesome. Why? Because in those moments when we feel embarrassed and things and those things come up, we can see it, we can deal with it, we can do something with it. So it's a great thing. It's actually, it doesn't feel like it in the moment. You feel embarrassed, you feel all these things because you're worried about what other people think about you. But push all that aside, it showed him that he has to stay in his practice. He has to stay. Hey, I don't care what level black belt. I'm a 10th degree black belt now. And that's been a 49-year journey. And it doesn't matter. It's the same for me as anyone else. If I don't stay in my game, if I don't stay in my practice, if I don't stay in that mental space, that see the brick is like gravity. Gravity don't care who you are. Doesn't care about your bank account. Doesn't care what you look like, your skin color. Doesn't care about any of that. If I take four different kinds of people, put them on top of the Empire State Building, and compel them off the top of that, they fall into a law called gravity, and it don't care who you are. And
Yep.
the same thing with the brick. When we're breaking the brick don't care who you are. If your mind isn't right and your technique's not right, it ain't going nowhere. So it's being able to. But in that situation though, like I was saying, these things come up. You might be off a little bit. It gives you a chance to really assess yourself and where you are and to master that. So there's that constant challenge, and it's like golf, right? You think you got that shot down, you think you got that chip down, and then there's another level that you get to go to. We all have these levels we get to keep rising, and so yeah, it's being in that mind space and being able to
So
get back to it. Yeah,
yeah. So okay. So this person, they don't break the brick. So they let it, if he lets it, if he lets that experience teach him something, great. There's tremendous value in that, right?
right,
And and I think the other thing is that the awareness of what that feeling of judgment from others, right? That's really what that is, right? That's what
yeah, yeah.
that
Well, yeah,
embarrassment
yeah,
is.
absolutely. And I get it. And so it gave me an opportunity to work with him afterwards, and we had great dialogues afterwards about it. And part of that conversation was like, hey, what if you were just in the room by yourself? Would you be feeling how you're feeling right now? what if it was just you by yourself? Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I let you down, and oh, okay. So, you have all kinds of things going. I would have never known that one, but he said it right. So,
Yeah.
and I could have guessed, but because you're in front of your teacher, you want to do. It's just like you guys when you walk down the line. We're hitting balls. We're hitting them flush. We're compressing the ball. We got it. And then you remember someone. I remember when Tim said, "Cut that out." Like you're not blaming us. You're not putting that on us, right?
Yeah.
So, the coaches come down the line, then suddenly you're just not hitting the ball, right? Or you're not doing the technique. But that's all in the person's mind. That's not on the person
Right.
who's observing. That's not on the people who are watching. So I shared that with him. I said, what if people weren't there? Would it matter? What if I wasn't there? Would it matter? And so
Yeah.
it gave him a different perspective to kind of look at himself and to be able to let's make this a positive thing to grow from. So
Yeah. And I think
stop worrying about other people.
yeah, I think part of that too is when we have those experiences and we don't die,
Yes.
we're like, oh,
Hey, that's an
okay.
awesome day. Yeah,
I actually
awesome thing.
survived that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a
Yeah.
lesson, right? I can
Yeah.
actually hit a poor shot. I can
Yeah,
whatever,
and
not break the
yeah.
brick, and I can survive. It's not a mortal threat.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And people are doing this everywhere. I mean, we're using golf, we're using martial arts as the example, but I mean, this is
Yeah,
going on all over the place in all environments. You know,
all of them.
how's your performance at work? How's your performance at school? How are all these things, and what is it based on? And what do you and that's why they should get your book and apply it to whatever they're doing, right? Because those principles, those are the things that are universal and can be used in all spaces. And so, but it's like you said, like you just mentioned ago, the power of awareness is this, I think, the first step. Getting, and I don't say this in a derogatory way, but just getting out of our ignorance. I mean, ignorance in the sense of
Yep.
lacking the knowledge. Grow our knowledge and understand that, hey, this is all working for us. It is not a negative. It is all for our benefit if we see it that way.
100%. Tell me about paradigms for success.
Yeah, this is I'm working. I figure I want to earn it, but I want to earn this new modicum, this new nickname. I would like to have it called the Paradigm Buster. I want to be known as the Paradigm Buster. To
Nice.
help people understand what paradigms are. First of all, I mean, this was a big piece of the puzzle that came together for me probably not so long ago, probably about a year ago or so. But it really, and this goes back to what we mentioned before, like having an image of the mind and how that whole thing operates, right? And basically a paradigm is just a set of habits that runs in the background. And the thing about it is most of our lives are dictated by paradigms. It's dictated by these programs that are running in the background. And the majority of people aren't even aware of it most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm doing I've created a program and been writing and putting that together for folks because it's a game changer when you learn these things and you actually actively apply them. And it becomes great because the brain is really, and we learned this from our friend Todd has spoken about what is his name? Dan Coyle.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Dan
yeah.
Coyle, his work, right? And but it's having these paradigms. We can the brain doesn't really delete things very well, but it can. But I mean, just in the design of how it operates, right?
Right,
Uh,
right. Because it
but
literally creates
right, yeah,
this
you got that
network,
the
right, and the
myelin
myelin
sheath and
sheath.
everything, right? But it doesn't. You don't go when people now. I listen to people. They go, "Yeah, I'm gonna break that habit." I'm like, "No, you're not." But you can create a new habit that outstrips the old habit. but
There you go.
but
Yeah.
to break a habit or delete it, you could spend your time, energy can be better spent somewhere else, right?
Agreed.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so
absolutely.
just getting people teaching, having a active way to teach people that, and a platform to teach them, and maybe some activities, some drills to teach them. I mean, the mind is like, we are out in our school, we yell fight at the end of class. We give a physical salute like this and we say fight. But that's an acronym. It means focus, imagination, greatness, humility, and truth. And those are the first five principles that we start operating from. And that imagination part, that's your mental faculties. The focus part, that's your mental faculty.
Hmm.
Your humility, it's all mental faculty. But here's the thing about it, all of those things are free. You don't have to spend $10,000 on a program to start making changes. Your
Right.
imagination is free. You just might need to pay some sweat equity and learn some things, raise your level of awareness, get some knowledge, and read a little, listen a little, or whatever it is. There's so many ways to do it now. I mean, you know, you can go on podcasts, you look at YouTube. It's free. You can get on there and you can have access to such great knowledge and things. But sometimes it's just like, I like, going to this particular restaurant. They serve cheesecake a lot. And their and their
Sign
menu,
me, sign me up.
I know, right? But
Bring Mrs. M. She's a big cheesecake fan.
all right, let's go. Let's go. So, but if you go to one restaurant, they might have a limited menu, just a few things. But if you go to that restaurant, they've got a booklet and it's got a ton of things that you can choose from. Sometimes that's even harder because
Yep.
there's so much laid out there, right? So, yeah. So,
Is it the
yeah,
fallacy of choice? Is that what that's called? I
yeah,
forget. But
is
when
that,
you have too many choices, it's actually harder than if you just have pick one of
yeah.
these three.
Right. Well, I think, and then you go back to, and I've heard this from several people, Einstein, some other people, where their clothing choices, they wanted to eliminate it, so they just wore the same thing every day.
Yep.
That principle, right? And but I think it's simplifying things and allows you to free up your mind for other things you want to focus on. But for me, Paul, I think the like all of this, like we're saying, we got all of these things, but it's beautiful because at our we have at our disposal things that we don't have to pay for with dollars, that we can access right now. All of the viewers of this podcast, you can do it right now. It's called your imagination. And you learn how to, one of the things that I adjusted for myself was, I was putting my will on, applying my willpower and trying to put it out to certain things, or even on my own body. Sometimes you're trying to make your body do things that maybe it doesn't need to be doing, but you're putting all that willpower to do it, right? And so,
Hmm.
and sometimes that's good, and sometimes not so good. But really, a great use of the willpower is to elevate our human faculties, to increase our focus, to do some mental push-ups so our imagination becomes better, so our concentration becomes better, and using that willpower on ourselves, on our human faculties that way tends to be quite productive. So, just that's a really good tip for maybe the viewers is maybe not so much outward, putting our will on outward things, but really focusing on our human faculties and doing some mental push-ups that will have a long-term effect on our health, whether it's physical health or mental health, which mental health is a big thing. It's very important. And it's sometimes the words themselves bring up whatever stories we've made up about mental health, but we all need good mental health, just like we need good physical health.
Right. Right. So focusing inward, I'm thinking of the Byron Katie quote, or what she often would say is there's only three kinds of business. There's your business, God's business, and other people's business. And you
That's
got to
good.
know where to spend your time.
There you go.
right?
There you go. Right. Well,
It's
and
like you
then
got to focus on your business.
yeah, and then circling back. I mean, gratitude. You know, dude, we're on a golf course. It's beautiful. You're in nature. You're you're in a situation where you're free and you're doing something you love. You're doing it with other people who potentially love it just as much as you do. Like you're already winning. You're already winning. So I
Yeah.
think that having gratitude is probably one of the big keys. Can I share something with you real quick from my
Yeah.
studies?
Love it.
Now,
Yeah. Go for it.
I did want to share this one thing. Me and my daughter Isala, she's 16 now, and she likes to read like me. She likes to go to the bookstore. She's like me, like that. So we're
Yeah.
going to the bookstore one day, and we're chatting in the car, and I said, you know, so what are what's something you're grateful for? We have this conversation around gratitude. So then it turns into a game. I said, you tell one thing you're grateful, I tell one thing you're grateful. And then that evolved into, hey, let's do this. Let's do this every day. Let's make this a new habit, part of our life. We're going to send each other 10 things we're grateful for that day. Number one, hey, if you're being grateful, you're not being in fear and you're not being angry. Okay,
Mm,
they can't be in the
nice.
same space at the same time. It's
Right.
just so that's a great way. So I said, this will be good for you. It'll be good for me. So we've been doing that. And we send each other our 10 things we're grateful for that day, gratitude. So then here recently, I was reading a very nice book, and it had a whole chapter on gratitude. I said, okay, my daughter's name is Sala. I said, Sally, let's do a 21-day challenge. Let's read this chapter. It's a short chapter. It's about gratitude. Let's read it, and we can share what we get from it for 21 days. So, well, today was day 20. And so we got one more day to go on the challenge. But in this book, it says this, and this will be hopefully all the viewers. I hope you get something from this. And this is a chapter on gratitude, this short part. It says, to permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior is to become inferior, and to surround yourself with inferior things. On the other hand, to fix your attention on the best is to surround yourself with the best and to become the best. The creative power within us makes us into the image of that to which we give our attention. We are thinking substance, and thinking substance always takes the form of that which it thinks about. And it finishes with this line: the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. Talk about a
There you.
mouthful, right?
Yeah. No. That right. That is so good. And I love that you brought that up because it's a lot easier not to take a moment and think about this kind of stuff. It's just so much easier to your point earlier, kind of run on automatic, right? Run the
Right.
systems
Yeah.
that normally get me through my day, and then I don't have to
Right.
think very much.
Yeah.
But we lose the opportunity to connect to the best parts of our experiences,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I
which
mean,
make us better, right? That's really what you're saying.
yeah. Yeah. And you had, man, you've been dropping them, Paul. I hope the audience is really paying attention.
Dude,
But
I'm just picking up what you're dropping.
but look, you just said it. Because thinking is probably one of the most challenging things that people don't do. Mental activity is oftentimes mistaken for thinking. Mental
Yeah, I don't have to think.
activity,
I don't have to think anymore. I just do this.
right, right. But but the like I said, man, mental activity is not thinking, but taking a moment and actually thinking, just processing. Dr. Albert Schweitzer, the Nobel Peace Prize winning doctor in England, they were interviewing him and said, "Doctor, what's wrong with men?" And he thought for a second. He thought for a second, and then he says,
Mhm.
"The problem with men is that in general, they just don't think." And I was like, "Wow." It just made me say, yeah, mental activity isn't thinking, but being thoughtful, taking a moment, And we get to do that on a beautiful golf course all the time. But we get to choose what we think about. Are we thinking about, man, what are they thinking about me? What are they thinking about the shot I just made that I messed up? Or are we losing that moment in time where we could just really just be taking it all in?
Yeah, it's the difference between getting stuck in ego, which is all worried
Yep.
about how others will think about me, judge me,
Mm-hmm.
assess me, measure me, blah, 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 right?
Right.
Versus can you be free and in the moment and perform the thing that you're really good at and just do it?
Yeah. And the ironic thing is most people aren't thinking about you.
They're not.
They're thinking about what they're got going on. They're not
Yeah.
really focused on you, and so it's ironic, and it's kind of like a
Yeah.
paradox, and that's why it goes back to Mo. You see the sign over my shoulder. Uh, he did it his
He did
way.
it his way.
He didn't, according to Todd. I didn't know Mo, but I've seen film. But Todd did know Mo, and he said he didn't care what anyone thought about what he was doing.
Yeah.
And that's why he shot 59 a couple of two or three
Like,
times.
I
Maybe that's why he
think it was,
had 17 holes
yeah.
in ones.
Yeah.
There might be
Exactly.
there might be a little wisdom in that. He
Yeah.
dressed the way he dressed. He didn't care. He did life the way he wanted to do life. I think Mo is a wonderful example of what we've kind of been alluding to, which is throwing away your ego and just just being going to the point of gratitude, having great deep gratitude for this life and the experience. In the morning when I leave the house, those I don't even know what they call them, but the five balls that you kind of pull, the pendulum.
Right.
I have
Right.
a small
Yeah.
one. So every morning I pull it and I clack it. I pull one or two or three, wherever how many balls. I clack it because it shows what you put in. If you take two and you clack it, two will come out. If you take one will come out. So I just clack it, whatever number I clack it, and I
Mm.
go, whatever you put in is what you get out. And then I've got an hourglass, and I flip the hourglass, and then I look right at the little narrow part because any of the
Hmm.
sand that's in the bottom, that whatever's done. And in the top, if you weren't to look at it, you don't know how much you got in the top. But so I just look in that little narrow part and I say, we're in the eternal now. That's all that there is. It's what is happening right now. So that's kind of my little part of my little morning routine, and it kind of sets my mind to some things that are more important than my ego.
Well, I'm getting one of those pendulum ball things. That
It's
is
awesome.
I love that.
I love it, man.
You
Yeah,
talk
I mean,
about
it's just
imagining things.
yeah,
Yeah. I can imagine starting my day, little click, 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 little
yeah,
meditation.
yeah.
Boom. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been very helpful
This
for me,
is,
and it's not. I haven't. It's just because some things just evolve, and that's just a little thing that's just recently evolved for me. But if
yeah,
it helps somebody else, I hope you all will take it. And it's good to have sometimes a visual. You have a visual, you have a sound, you have a moment where you really just go, you know what? It is what it's really about what I make it. And this goes
it
back to you
is.
asking me in the beginning, hey, are you always like enthusiastic? I haven't always been on that level like that, but I do know this enthusiasm is catching. And when you walk into a room and you're enthusiastic and you bring that positivity, it fires it up in other people, it fires it up in their brains. And when those brains connect, it can help lift somebody up, and the great thing is somebody can help lift you up. It's like a win when you're enthusiastic. So enthusiasm is gold for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. Well, listen, we started this conversation inside of enthusiasm. I think we're going to end it right there. Inside of
Sounds good.
enthusiasm.
And it's
Great
always so
bookends.
good being with you, man. I'll tell you, people better watch out. I'm all fired up now, hanging out with you.
Good deal.
Yeah, I
Yeah. They're going to
appreciate you
want to
so
know
much,
where you
and
been
I'm
hanging
sure.
out all day.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Who you been around? And I just tell them, hey, I tell my children, I spend time with winners. And in general, all people have the potential to be winners. I'm not saying I just push other people away. No, uh,
Yeah.
there's so much good in all of us. Sometimes people just need a little bit of our enthusiasm to help them get through whatever they're going through. So, hey, I just
Yeah.
tell my students and my family, just be kind to others. And hey, it's like goes back to that the thing. You give people what you want to get. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Thank you,
Nathan
Paul.
Ray, thank you so much. Always good to be
Yes, you're
with you.
welcome.
And I look forward to
Likewise.
our next visit.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have an amazing day, buddy. Talk to you
You
soon.
too. Greetings.
Thanks. All right, a big thanks and shout out to Nathan Ray. Man, the energy it's unbelievable. If you can't be a positive person around this guy, man, I don't know. It's amazing. So I love being around Nathan Ray. Nathan, thank you so much. A lot of great discussion and some great ideas. I'm gonna go get one of those silver pendulum ball things. I don't even know what you call them. I'm definitely getting one of those, and love the tip. So once again, I'm Paul Monahan, and my mission is to help you lead, play, perform at your best. If you want to find out more about the work that I do, you can visit me at paulmonahan.com. I appreciate the chance to visit you and be with you today on this podcast. I'm on Apple Podcast. I'm on YouTube. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, I want to thank Kevin Monahan for all the work behind the scenes. Thanks, Kev. Appreciate all the editing work that you do. And remember, stay in the game. No matter the performance domain you're playing in, you can play better, struggle less, and enjoy more. Until next time.